I guess I wasn't. I am now. All right. So about these drawings, and as when you zoom into your drawing, you'll notice that your lines have thickness, and the closer you zoom in, the thicker the lines are. And as we proceed and we talk more about layers, and what we can do is we can define a line weight for different layers, so that some lines are thinner than other lines, like walls are on a thick line, and dimensions are a little bit of a thinner line. But for now, all of our lines pretty much have the same thickness. And down here in by these switches down here at the bottom, there is a little toggle that shows or hides your line weights. And when I click on it, you'll notice that all my line weights are super thin now. And they're sort of the thickness that you would see when you are working in model space. So when we're working in model space, we see lines, that are a pixel wide or whatever the thickness is. And when we're working in paper space, we don't always see that, because you can turn on your line weights. And I find, particularly when I'm snapping to an object, oh, wait, let me just turn off my, let me just close my outlook here.
I want to ask you, because I see that on yours. I don't have that on mine.
You don't have this on yours?
No.
Well, I was just going to mention that if you don't have any of these toggles, all the way on the right here, there's a little 3 horizontal lines, and if you click on that, a customization thing will come up here. And there you can look for, where is it? Show and hide line weights. There it is, line weights right there. So if you don't see it, if I uncheck it, you'll notice that my line weights disappear from down here. But I do want to see it. So you may, yes, that very well may happen, that you can't see some of these toggles down here. So hopefully that will solve that problem for you. But in general, I like to work with these line weights turned off, and it's just easier to snap to an endpoint, or well, not necessarily easier, but I don't know, it just seems cleaner and more precise looking as you're working. And again, when we start talking about line weights a little bit later on, we'll talk more about toggling that on and off. But the reason I'm mentioning it is that I was fearing that some of you were not able to click on the endpoint or the intersection when you were putting your dimensions in. So as I put a linear dimension, well, I have my viewport turned off, unfrozen here, or unlocked. But as you are putting a dimension in, if you're not exactly snapping to that endpoint, that could possibly help you a little bit. All right. Let me lock it. All right. So blocks. So last week, I talked about downloading blocks from that Google Drive page. Was everyone able to do that? Was there anyone that had a problem with that? Okay, all right. I'm going to assume that everyone was able to do that. If you weren't, don't worry. Just hang back at the end of class, and we can go through it. I'm sorry, did somebody say something?
They probably weren't unmute because I feel
Okay.
like that would be something for us.
Okay. All right. So so let me switch into model space here. And let's talk about inserting a block. There's two ways to do it. One is from the insert tab on your ribbon. And when I click on that, the first button here on the left is insert. And when I click on that, a little drop down comes down and shows me the recent blocks that are currently inside my drawing here. And I can stretch this. So as I have more blocks in my drawing, I can stretch this out and it will show all of the blocks that are there. And the one block that we have in the drawing is the door block, right? The imperial door block, which is right here. So if I want to insert that door block again, rather than, I can, oops, sorry. I can open up, my tool palettes and I can insert the block that way. But if I don't want to do that, I can just go up to insert here, click on the block and insert it right into my drawing, and it's right there. So that is one way to insert a block. Another way to insert a block is using the keyboard shortcut, and that is with the letter I. If I type I for insert, I get a tool palette here, and yours may come up in the middle, but I sort of have mine pushed to the side, and you can also dock it either to the right or to the left side. It's up to you. I'm gonna undock this. And this block, this tool palette has a couple tabs here. First is what's in the current drawing. It's pretty much telling you the same thing that this drop down over here is. So the door block is in here, and that little lightning bolt here, that tells me that that is a dynamic component. That means, I can make changes to that component. When I click on it, I can change the door swing, etc. So as you insert blocks into your drawing, they will appear here in this palette right here in the current drawing. Recent are other blocks that I have inserted into my drawing or into various drawings that I may have been working on another drawing and I insert some blocks here. And libraries, this library tab right here, is a way for you to access the blocks that you downloaded from that Google page. So when I click on libraries, and your libraries may not show anything, but I've already gotten some stuff in here. And when I click on this drop down, these are various locations where I have blocks are loaded on my computer or someplace. And I can right down here click on browse block libraries. When I click on that, I get this dialog box here, and let me just go up. So I'm on my jump drive in my CAD 1 summer of 2021, and I've got my projects folder, my templates folder, and then I created a 2D blocks folder. When I click on that, I have the various subfolders here that sort of divided up each of these different, group together various blocks. So if I just click on, I'll just click on people here, and I click open, and I'm just clicking on the folder. Now I could drill down and I could see all of the blocks that are in there, but I want to go back up. I just want to click on the folder, and when I click open, then what AutoCAD does for me is it gives me a palette of all of the blocks that happen to be in that folder. Well, did I click on people, or did I click on office?
Office, I think.
Oh, I did click on office. All right. let me just click on people here, just to put in another one. So here's various people, and there's a wheelchair and a person, et cetera, et cetera. So now AutoCAD sort of has a link to where I have various blocks stored. And I can go up here, and now that I have office or accessories or upholstery, these are various things that, you know, I uploaded in the recent past. I can just click on upholstery, and then I can click on, there's a little love seat here, and I can just drag it into my document. And just as easy as that, I have that block inserted into my AutoCAD document. And if I go over to insert up here, you'll see that now I have 2 blocks up there that are available to me. And also, if I click on my current drawing tab here, I now have both of those blocks. Now, the other thing that I'd like to point out to you is down at the bottom here, and on yours it may be collapsed. It may have insertion options down here that's collapsed, and you could just click on the little arrow here, and this will open up, and this will give you some options here. I can change the scale of the block. I can rotate the block after inserting it. I can do a repeat replacement, or I can explode the block. So let's just go in, and the first one is insertion point. So if I don't click on this, if insertion point is not clicked, what it's going to do is it's going to put that block at the 0, 0, 0 coordinate of my drawing, which will be someplace over here. So let's just insert a block. I'm just insert this block. Let's just see what happens. I just drag it in. Now, oh, I just put it in there. Well, I guess it's just putting it wherever I tell it to. So I guess I'm wrong about that. But normally I have this checked so that I have I guess I guess what happens is if I don't have this checked, I guess I'm learning here. If I don't have this check and bring it in, it just sort of drops the block. But if I have this checked and I bring it in, AutoCAD is waiting for me to choose an insertion point. So, you know, I don't know why I would do it, but if I wanted this block to align right with, you know, the midpoint of that line right there, I can click on that, and I've located that block exactly. If I have, I would recommend that you insert the blocks at full scale. So I'm not going to talk about that right now, but rotation sometimes is a nice thing too. So if I click on rotation and I click on the block, I locate the block where I want it. And now AutoCAD is asking me how I want to rotate that block. So it'll go anywhere I want. I can enter a degree, you know, 33 degrees if I wanted, or 45 degrees. Or of course, I can put on, you know, polar tracking and, you know, put it exactly where the polar tracking is. Or I could put on ortho and it will go exactly, you know, rotated exactly where I want. Those are the two that I usually have or checked or you know, either check or uncheck, but I pay attention to rotation. And then repeat replacement, if I click on that, it's kind of obvious what that is, but if I place it, and I have rotation selected, so it's going to rotate, and now it's going and it wants to do another one. I'll just keep going until I hit escape, and I'll just keep, you know, repeating the insertion of the blocks. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy inserting blocks. And again, if I click over here, those are all the blocks that I have inserted into my document. So it's easy to just drag them in from there. Or again, I can pull them in from this palette here. And again, I usually access this palette by typing the letter I for insert, and that palette comes right up. I think also you can't, no, let me close this palette again. I think if I click on insert and click blocks from libraries, yeah, that will also bring up the palette if you don't want to type I.
Hey,
Okay.
Paul, I have a quick question for you. Sorry.
No. Yes, I was about to ask if anyone had a question.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's say I want to insert another one of those sofas that's already on there. Could I also use the copy tool, or does that not work for blocks?
Oh, no, of course you can use the copy tool. Yes. Yeah. And a lot of times it's a lot easier to use the copy tool. And I can use any tool. I'm going to move this. And let's just say I want, to copy the seating arrangement, so I'll just hit, I'll just go over to insert. I'll use these here. I can just take those and, create copies, or I can mirror, do whatever I like with these. It's really fast to get a whole seating arrangement in place once you have a couple of these blocks in place. Good question. Anyone else?
Yes, I have a question also about the blocks. The two opposing doors that you have on the right wall. I noticed when using blocks, if you try to add the 2-inch, the 2-inch, I can't remember, the molding in
Yeah.
10-inch space, when you have a block there, you can't use array. So I had to move the doors. Is there a way to get around that?
When you want to move the block, you can't use an array. Did you say?
Yeah, see the 10-inch space in between the two door swings.
Yes.
So when I wanted to add the 2 inches inside there with array, I
You mean
was,
offset?
or offset, I'm sorry, offset, yes.
Yeah.
I always say array because it says array there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So let me move this block here for a moment.
Or do you just have to do it? No, to do it first. You have to do the offset first.
No, but let me explain what the problem is for other people who may have the same issue. So what I've got here, I have a wall segment here, right? And there's 3 lines involved, right? This one, and then this jam line. And what I will do is I'm going to move my block into place here. And you'll notice that, let me just copy this block. You can look at the anatomy of it here. So this block is more than just the door and the swing. It actually contains the jam, the depth of the wall, or the thickness of the wall. And when I move this block into place, this block is now sitting on top of the little line that we use to offset. So if I move this block and I want to offset that, so I'll just type O and then enter 2 inches. And I want to offset that. I'm easily able to do that, right? And I would easily be able to do it down here. But as soon as I move this block into place, oh darn, I forgot to offset over here. Okay, well, let me just go to offset 2 inches. And now, and this is the problem you were having, right? That you can't offset.
Because that's on the top layer, yeah.
Because what I'm doing is I'm offsetting the block and I'm not offsetting the line. So how to resolve that? Well, one, move the wall out of place and then offset, but we don't want to do that. But what you can do is you can change the order of the line work. So I'm going to click on this wall, this block here, and then I'm going to right click. I'm right clicking here, and I hope I can find it here. Oh, peanut butter.
Is it draw order?
Yes, thank you. So, so right now that door block is on top. It's in the front. So I'll just click send to back, or I can send it under, but I'm just going to send it to the back. Now, watch just when I click here, it's selecting that line segment. So now I can offset 2 inches, and I can offset. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I couldn't see drawing order. So that is the long-winded answer to your question.
Thank you.
So yes, we need to be aware of lines on top of other lines or blocks on top of lines. You can't offset a block. A block can't be offset, but you know, that's the way to resolve that.
Could you explode that door, like where you can
Yeah.
change the thickness of the door itself, or like even the swing of it? Like it could like be like could you like explode it, or like even contain more objects like the door jamb to be included in the 3-foot door as a block itself?
Certainly.
It's been
I could do that. So what? Let's see what happens if I explode this. This is the explode tool right here. I'm going to click on it. Now, what this block has done, if I explode it, is it's turned it into its components, line components. It's no longer acting as one thing. So I have an arc here, I have a rectangle here, and I have a line here. So that now I've broken it into its line segments, and yes, I can offset that. I can even offset this rectangle if I wanted to, or the arcs. I could do, you know, all of that. Another thing that I could do is, I don't want to, let me just undo that. I could modify this block, and I'll talk about creating blocks next, and then we'll talk about modifying blocks. But yes, I could add a door jamb here. The problem with doing that in this particular block is if I want to change the thickness of the door, then it will the jamb will not change. The thickness of the jamb of the door frame will not change. Also, you need to remember that if I make a change to one block, all of the blocks change. So you just want to be aware of that as well. So let's talk about creating a block. So first we need a bunch of lines to make the block, and what on Blackboard there is a little chair here. So this is not a chair that I probably would spec, but that's okay. My client loves it, so I love it. So so this is the image of the chair. It's a chair and an ottoman here. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this in AutoCAD, or as close as we can. It won't be exact, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be exact. All that we need to do is have a representation of it in AutoCAD so that it is familiar to our client, so that they understand when they're reading the drawing what that chair is. So so just like anything, let's just look at it. It's the overall width of it is 33 inches and the depth of it is 38 inches. And we'll start with the chair and then we'll do the ottoman. And then there's some basic dimensions on here, and we'll come back to that. This back is sort of curved back 4 inches, and the seat of the chair is 24 inches. Blah blah blah. So let's look at how we can construct this this chair in AutoCAD. So I'm going to start with the overall dimensions, and I'm going to go onto my 0 layer here. Or I could be on any layer, but I'm just going to be on 0 here. And the overall size is 33 by 38. So I'm going to start with the rectangle tool here. And I'm going to type 38, comma, 33, enter. And there's my chair. Overall size of my chair. Now, what I'm going to do is for the arm of the chair, I'm going to use the mirror tool, so that I'll just draw one side of the chair arm, and then we'll mirror it along the middle of it, and then it'll appear on this side. So that'll just save us some work. But I'll start with the back of the chair, and the back curves in about 4 inches. So what I need to do is I need to create an arc that starts 4 inches from this corner, goes to the midpoint, and then ends 4 inches over here. So maybe what I should do is offset 4 inches so that I have this point and this point. Now, when I select this rectangle, I'm selecting the entire rectangle. And what I want to do is I want to change it into its components. And I'm going to explode this rectangle into its 4 components, which are 4 lines. So I will use the explode tool. It's right above offset and right below the eraser tool. And I'll just click on it, and it's asking me any more objects I want to explode. No, I'll just hit enter. And now that object has turned into 4 objects, 4 lines. And I'm going to offset 4 inches. By the way, let me back up. Okay, it's now back as a rectangle. The keyboard shortcut for explode isn't E, because E is erase. It's X, the letter X, and that is explode. I can click on it, and now I've exploded it. So either the little button up here or the letter X, X as in X-ray. All right, so I'm going to offset 4 inches. And I'll just use my arc tool, my 3-point arc tool. Remember that there are a whole bunch of different arcs, but I'm just going to use the 3-point arc tool. The start point, and I'll go to the midpoint, and I'll end at that point there. So now I have the back of my chair in place. And I'm gonna shift over to the other side and look at the depth. So the depth of the seat is 24 inches. So I'll just hit offset 24. Oops, offset 24. And let's see, I've got I'm saying about 1.5 inches, and I have another little arc here. Well, I'll go over to the seat, or to the arm at this point. So I've got offset 5 inches. So the arm, the edge of the arm is 5 inches from the edge of the chair, and it is a 5-inch diameter circle. So I'll go over to circle, and I'm just going to pick a point, and circle is asking me for the radius, but I want to enter the diameter, which is 5 inches. Or I could just hit half of 5 inches, which is 2.5, but I'll click diameter here, and it's asking me for the diameter circle, 5, enter. And now I want to move that into place so that the quadrant of the circle aligns with this guideline here, and this quadrant aligns with this guideline. So I'm going to make that move I'm going to position that circle in 2 moves. So I'll go to my move tool, And I'll start at this quadrant. And by the way, if you do not have, if you're not snapping to quadrant, again, down here, just make sure that you have quadrant snapped. I pretty much always have quadrant checked. I use it more often than you would than I normally think. So that is now aligned with that guideline, that circle. Now I want to move this circle up so that it's perpendicular to that guideline. So now this circle is aligned with the edge, this edge of the chair, and this guideline here. All right, so let's see, what else have I got going on here? Oh, I guess I've got, all right, I'll just go back here so to show you all. So, all right, so the back of the seat here is 21 inches wide. So I'll draw a guideline that's half of 21 or 10.5 inches this way and this way. And then I'll draw this arc here. So let's do that. So I'll start with a line that is running from the center line here, and I'm just going to let it extend out. And again, it was the back of the pan of the seat, or the back of the seat cushion, is 21 inches. So half of that is 10.5. So just offset 10.5. Come up here. There. And I'm going to, and this has a little arc too, and I'm just going to say 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to offset 1.5 inches. It's going to come out that way. So again, I'll just draw another arc here, I think. Okay. And I can probably get rid of this guideline. I don't need to see this. And you know what I think I'm going to do? Because I don't want to get too confusing and confuse guidelines versus pieces of chair. I'm going to take this, and this, because these are actual pieces of my chair here, and I'm going to put them on another layer. I'll just put them on my furniture too. So furniture 1 is a dark blue, and that's harder to see. So I'm just going to click furniture 2 here. All right. So let's see. So
That makes
now,
it less confusing. Thank you.
Paul, how far did you offset this center line again on either side?
10.5 inches.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then I offset over here 1.5 inches. So now I want to talk about a new tool called Spline. And Spline allows us to sort of draw, when I want to draw an arc, that's fine. It's very geometrical, but sometimes I want something that is just a little more freeform looking. And I can do that with the Spline tool. So over in the draw palette here, if I click on that drop down, there's 2 splines, and the very first one is Spline Fit, and that is the one that I want to use. So I'm just going to click on it, and it takes a little bit. Sometimes you'll have to do it and then do it again, and then do it a third time. So what I want to do is I want an arc here, but I don't want it like an equal arc. So so I'm going to pick this point here, and I'll turn my ortho off. And I don't know, I'm going to pick a point more or less here. And then I'll click on that intersection. And then I have to extend this line, but I'm not clicking down here. I'm just going to hit enter. And now I have this weird bulgy line, and I can make changes to that line by clicking on the grips, and I can sort of soften that curve. So that's not an easy, that's not an arc. That has a much more random feel to it. So let me change that to my furniture layer. And now I want to draw the arm of the chair, and it's going to come from about the midpoint here, and it's going to curve and then hit pretty much the midpoint here. And I'll use the spline for that too. So I'll go over to draw and then click spline fit, and I'll pick, I'll start at the midpoint, and actually I don't think I'm going to start at the midpoint. I think I'll start just off the midpoint. So, well, yeah, I'll start at the midpoint. And then it kind of does. I'm kind of like looking at the picture as I'm doing it. It kind of bulges out a little bit, and then maybe I'll click here, and then I'll click on that quadrant right there. And then I just want to pull the line out. I'm not clicking out here. I'm just pulling the line out to sort of set my curve, and then I'll just hit the enter key. So, you know, I can play with that. Maybe I want that bulge to be a little less. I think that's good. So when you're doing these splines, it doesn't have to be just 3 points. It can be as many points as you want. And the more points that you put in, the more, you know, exacting it's going to be. So so that's kind of marking that that part of the arm. And then I'm going to do it again for this arm. So that it's going to come out, it's going to bulge in a little bit, come to about here, and then I'm going to kind of wrap it around. So let's see how well I can do this. And I find that very often I will do the spline tool 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times until I get it right. Which may be the case for this here. Now, I don't like how this is bulged in here, so I'm going to see if I can't soften this up a little bit. And I'll pull this back a little bit. So there's a level of finessing and eyeballing this.
So Paul, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So whenever you're using this spline tool, it seems that if you wanted to do it on the other side, you would have to copy it or do the mirroring, because it seems like it'd be really hard to draw it
yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, to be able to duplicate, the only way I could do it is if I put guidelines at every single spline location, and then I, you know, snap to that spline location. But even then, I'm not even sure that that would entirely work. So yes, for sure, we want to use the mirror tool. And then I've got one more spline I want to do, and that is the front of the chair. And it kind of starts here and then comes out, and then the bulge is a little bit softer as it gets to the midpoint here. So let me just add that spline.
And wouldn't you take the arm out to the width of the 33 inches wide?
Yeah, there is a 3-inch there, but I guess what I could do is I could let's see what happens if I offset that. You know, I'm not sure. I don't think that 3 inches is right, because this is what a 3-inch arm would look like. And
No, I meant 3 inches up. Like, you know, just to the grid line, right?
You mean for this arm? Yeah, I guess I could have done that. I could have just offset this guideline 3 inches. But you know, I'm not even sure that that's right, because I'm not sure exactly where that 3 inches is starting and where it's ending. So so I'm ignoring it, quite honestly. I really am. I think I get a better looking product if I don't follow that. All right, let me do one more spline here. And I'll start at this quadrant, and then I'm going to do some shorter points here because I want this to sort of come out and then gradually turn back. So I'll do a point here, and another one maybe here, and maybe one near there. Well, no, that's not going to work.
Are you hitting enter or are you left clicking or?
I am left clicking as I'm going.
Okay.
You mean for each of these points? Yes, I'm left clicking.
Hey, Paul. It's
Yeah.
Rebecca. So when I look at the picture, the rounded parts of the end of the arms actually extend past 33 inches.
The rounded part of the end, this,
Yes, if you
Well,
take a ruler. Yeah,
it looks like, well, this is set back from this edge 5 inches, right?
I'm looking from the back of the sofa or the back of the chair.
Are you saying that? Are you saying that this quadrant here is not in line with this?
Correct.
point? Yeah. Well, that may very well be. But well, okay. Let me just hold that question in your holding tank for a moment, okay?
Okay.
And I'll come right back to it.
Yeah.
All right. So let me. I'm just going to take. You know what? This is a perfect opportunity to introduce yet another tool to you all.
Actually, I lied. The round parts of the chair, like the top of the circle in each, is 33 inches wide. It's the back of the chair that seems to be a little.
Yeah. Well, all right. Okay. Yeah. Well, again, hold that thought, Rebecca, and I will come back to it. All right. I'm not gonna talk about match properties right now. I don't want to confuse the issue. So I'm just gonna go here and I'm gonna put this on my furniture tool. And by the way, I need to talk about these additional layers. So let me talk about that too. All right. So now I have the, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to trim this. So I've got this arm and I have this half of the front of my seat cushion here. And now I'm going to mirror it. MI to mirror, and I'll just select those pieces. I'll choose the midpoint, which is anywhere here. I'll turn on my ortho. Oh, you know what? I want to mirror this too. All right. Now let me get rid of some of these guidelines here. I don't know. I don't think I need this center line either. So further to Rebecca's question about this this pointy edge here, and if you look at the image, it is a little pointy, but you know, really it's probably a little bit rounded here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fillet tool, and I think we talked about putting a radius on a fillet before, and that's what I want to do in this case. And when I put that radius on that fillet, it's going to remove this sharp corner, soften it a little bit, and make it a little bit more like a piece of upholstery. You know, that generally upholstery, well, sometimes it comes to a pointy edge, but I want to soften that a little bit. So I'm going to use the fillet tool. And Philip is asking me to select the two objects, but what I want to do is I want to put a radius on this fillet. So I'm going to click on radius down here, or I could type R for radius. And Philip's telling me that the fillet radius is 0, and I want to change it. So let me change it. I'll be a little bit dramatic, and I'll just say 3 inches. So now I will take this spline and this arc and fillet them together. So I'll click this, and I'll click that. And I now have a curve on. And you'll notice, Rebecca, that I've reduced the width of the chair there, the back of the chair. So it looks a little more in line with the picture. But I don't like that radius. I think it's too extreme. So I'm going to undo, and I'll go into fillet again. I'm going to type R, and I'll do half of that, 1.5. And you know, this is some trial and error. You just have to go until it kind of looks right. I think that looks much better. You know, that actually looks more upholstered because there is a little radius. This radius may be a little bit more extreme than what's on the picture, but I think that again serves the purpose. And then I'll fill it down here. So I'll just hit enter. I'm back in my fillet command. All right. So there I have the line work for my chair. So that's step 1, get the line work in place. Step 2 is to make sure that the line work is on the right layer. And the right layer for a block is layer 0. Let me repeat that. The line work for blocks is layer 0, always. If you take nothing else away from today's diatribe or lesson, let it be that line work on blocks is layer 0. Layer 0 is sort of a null layer in AutoCAD. And if I take a block that has been created on layer 0, or that has line work on layer 0, and I change the layer of that block, the properties of that block will take on the properties of that layer. So what the heck is he talking about? Well, so this furniture here, these are all blocks, and they came in on my dimensions layer, right? My magenta dimensions layer. When I hover over it, that little info box comes in and it says layer dimension. And the color is by layer. So the layer of the dimension layer is this magenta. So the block took on the layer magenta. If I click on that block and I change the layer to furniture 2 here, then that block is now on furniture 2. If I create this block so that the line work is all on furniture 2, then I can never change that block will always appear cyan. And you know, let's just say at some point I want to put this on furniture 1. Oh, it's on furniture 2 here, and I put it on furniture 1. So now I can change it to furniture 1 or any other layer. So it is important for us to think ahead because we're not always sure what layer a piece of furniture or any other block is going to go on. For instance, this, what if this is the existing building right here, right? I guess it is. And I want to move these doors. I might end up putting these doors on a demo layer so that the contractor knows to demolish these doors. You know, and then we'll put new doors there. So we always want to make sure that our blocks are on layer 0. The line work of our blocks are on layer 0. So I changed this to the furniture 2 layer because I wanted to be able to distinguish the actual furniture from those guidelines that I had all over the place. But right now, what I need to do is change all of this to layer 0. So I'm going to select all of the stuff here. And I'm going to put it on layer 0. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to add that ottoman on here. So the ottoman is 24 by 28. So let's just quickly draw a rectangle. I typed REC for rectangle, and I'll type 24, comma 28, enter. And I think I'm going to explode this block too. So I'll just type the letter X. No, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to move it so that that midpoint aligns with that center there. And I'm just going to move it over a little bit. All right, so now, yeah, I'm going to explode this X, click on it. And then, so this end of the block sort of has a curve that matches the curve of the front of my chair. My chair's curve is quite shallow. Yours might be a little more pronounced, but that's fine either way. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that arc there. And I don't know, I'll just put it in, I don't know, some distance. I'm just eyeballing this. And now I'll just use the fillet command, just like I did before. We go to fillet. And let me click on radius. My radius is set to 1.5. That's good. That's where I want it. And I'll just click. Done. There's my ottoman. Let's make sure that that's on layer 0. Yes, everything is on layer 0. Let's make sure everything is on layer 0. Yes. Okay.
Hey, Paul, quick question.
Yeah.
It doesn't say on the drawing how far away the ottoman is from the chair. Like it looks like it drew it, but it doesn't have a dimension written in there. How far away should it be?
Well, you know, I think the way it's drawn on that thing, I think that that's like way too close, because you know you want to be able to get like, you know, your legs in here when you sit down and then plop your feet up, right?
Mhm.
So I'm just kind of eyeballing it to what I think looks right, but
Okay.
I don't think there's a set dimension really.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you can just kind of use your professional eyeball, I think, to locate that. All right, so now in my home ribbon here, or home tab on the ribbon, there is a palette here called block right here. And over at the top here, there is a create button. I can click on that, or I can type the word block. Either one will get me this dialog box, and it starts out with the block definition. We have to give the block a name, and I'm just going to call this chair and ottoman. Every block has to have a unique name. The names can't be the same, otherwise what AutoCAD will do is it'll redefine whatever other blocks that you already have in your drawing that have that same name. All right, so it's asking me for the base point, and this is the point that I am going to insert the block from, the insertion point of the block. So I'm just going to choose this midpoint right here. It could be any, you know, it could be here, or it could be the ottoman. It could be wherever you'd like, wherever makes sense. So I'm going to just click right here. It says pick point. I'm going to click on it, and AutoCAD is asking me for a point. I'm going to pick that midpoint right there. And as soon as I pick it, my block definition dialog box pops right up. And next, and by the way, it's giving me an XYZ coordinate. That happens to be that point. That's where the XYZ coordinates are of that point. Yours obviously are going to be different, because you're not going to build your block in exactly the same location I built mine. The next is I need to identify what the objects that are contained within that block. So I'll just click select objects here. And I'll just draw a big old window around them. Hit enter. And behavior, I'm not going to make it annotative. I'll click scale uniformly on there. And allow exploding. Sure, I'll allow you that. You can explode that block if you want. And I'll hit OK. And my block is created. And when I know that it's created, when I hover over it, now not just that line segment highlights, but the entire block. And that block is on layer 0. Or it'll be on whatever layer I created the block on. So in this case, it's on layer 0. If I want to change that block to my furniture 2 layer, furniture 1, dimensions layer, I can do that. Okay, let me sidebar for a moment. I'm opening up my layers palette here, and you'll notice that when we started this drawing, we had we had furniture 1 and furniture 2 on here, and now there's a furniture 1 here, there's a fern 2, a fern 1, there's a dims layer here, there's all kinds of stuff here that we never inserted. So what the hey? Right? What's going on? Well, the answer to that is when we inserted these blocks had some layers attached to them. And when we brought these blocks into, and I don't know which one, maybe it was this one, maybe it was this one, maybe, I don't know which one. But when we brought these blocks into our drawings, we inherited these additional furniture layers. So let me see if I can delete these. Yes. For the most part, you will be able to delete these erroneous furniture layer or whatever layers that. And the way I'm deleting these layers is I'm clicking on the layer, and then I am right clicking to bring up this menu here, and then I'm clicking on delete layer here. All right, I think that's good. So don't be too alarmed, but when you bring other people's blocks into your drawings, you are subject to whatever layers that they may have included in that block. All right, so now I can copy this block, right? I can array it. Let's do a polar array. I could do all kinds of stuff with that block. And I may want to, let me undo that array. I may want to edit this block. Let's just say, oh, you know what? I don't want this block to contain that ottoman anymore. I just don't want that to happen. So there is a number of things that we can do. I can click on edit. Again, I'm in the blocks palette here. When I click edit, it's asking me what block, and these are the blocks that are inserted into my document. And it's choosing chair and ottoman for me, and it's asking me what block I want to edit, and that's the one I want to edit. I'll click OK, and I get this big gray screen that contains my block on it and all the components on it. So if I want to get rid of that ottoman, I can close that block editor. It's going to ask me if I want to save the changes. I'll say yes. And now all of my blocks have gotten rid of that ottoman. But you say, well, I just want to get rid of the block of the ottoman on this block. So let's undo that. I'm just gonna repeatedly hit Control Z, Z as in zebra, to bring this back. And also I want to show you another way to edit these blocks. Well, hold on. Let's see if I can. So what I will have to do is I will have to create 2 blocks here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explode this. And now I'm back. By the way, as soon as I exploded it, you'll notice that all of my line work went back to layer 0. Right? This is on the furniture 2 layer, but all of this line work is now back on layer 0. So now what I need to do is I need to create 2 blocks, right? I need to create a chair block and I need to create an ottoman block. So I'll just do it just for practice, just so you see some redundancy here. So this time I'll type the word block. Same block definition comes up. This time I'll call it chair. I'm going to choose the base point right back here. I will choose the objects and scale, allow exploding, and I'll click OK. And now, see, this is line work still, but this is a block. So I can choose it, put it on whatever layer I want. Now I have 2 blocks. I have a chair and ottoman block, and I have a chair block. Go back to insert. There I have chair, chair and ottoman. So your task is, as part of your homework for next week, and literally it's going to be next week because we have Monday off. Your task for next week is to draw and create this chair and ottoman block. Someplace on your drawing, you know, you're going to be doing your living room or family room or some room in your home, and then just off to the side. So you don't have to put this in your room, but just someplace off to the side, just draw that chair and ottoman block as part of your homework. Any questions about blocks so far? There is another way to edit blocks, and this is the way that I prefer to edit blocks, rather than again going over to home and then clicking on edit. There is another way. I'll click on the block, and then I will right click on the block, and I can click block editor, and that gets me exactly to that same gray screen that I did when I clicked on edit up here. But right below it says edit block in place, and this is the one that I like to use. So let me show you the difference. When I click on it, again, it's asking me the chair and ottoman. Yes. You'll see that I'm actually in my drawing, and I have the context of what else is in the drawing. It's all kind of grayed out, you can see, but it's all there. So I can make, you know, changes to this block however I want. You know, I'm not sure what I would want to do on this, but let's just get rid of those little marks right there. So I'm making these changes, and I can see the context of what else is going on in my drawing. And then when I'm done, what I need to do is I need to go all the way over here, all the way at the back where it says edit reference. And I need to click save changes. I have a couple choices here. I can save or I can discard the changes, but I'm just going to save the changes. And say references will be saved. Yes. And now my block has changed. So those are the two main ways to edit or to change a block. Again, I like to right click and I like edit block in place because I just like to see that block in the context of the drawing. You know, sometimes you want to do something that, you know, is sort of location specific.
So just to confirm, Paul, when you're editing the block in place like that and just selecting one, it's not going to make those changes permanently to your block. It's just doing the one that you are selecting, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not. It is making all the changes to all of the blocks.
Oh, going forward, then the block is going to be altered. Okay.
So let's edit this block here again. I'm going to right click, edit block in place. Let's change this back to an inch and a half. So fillet radius 1.5. It keeps these arcs, so I need to erase those. And then, all right, I'm done editing this. So I'll go up here to the edit reference, and I'll click Save Changes. And they have all changed.
So if we just want to edit it in the current drawing we're doing, then we just use the above the modify palette or above the modify
You mean this?
commands. No, because that one will modify the permanent block, right?
So if you want, let's say you want this block to be different,
Mhm.
right? What I need to do is I need to explode that block and redefine it. I just like I did here. This was the same as this here was the same as this, right? But here, okay. So let me explode this block. And this time I'm going to right. I want to change that ottoman there. So now what I need to do is I need to treat this as a new block. I have to go and create a new block. Point. Select the objects. And create. So now this block is different from the others. It's still a block, but it is a different block than these blocks. Clear?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Now, I don't know if I need to want to go too deep, but let's just create this ottoman block here, right? So I'm going to create a block. I'll just call this ottoman. Specify a base point, and I'll select the objects and hit OK. Let me put this block back on here. Well, let's see what happens here. Now, so I have a chair block and I have an ottoman block. I could create a third block that contains both of these blocks. So let's just, I just want it to appear different. So I'm just going to mirror that. That's still the ottoman block, but I just mirrored it. So I can create another block. Share and ottoman 3 or 2 or 3, I guess it was. I'll select an insertion point. I'll select the objects, this one and that one, hit enter. And now I have a block that contains 2 other blocks. And this is called a nested block because nested within this block are 2 other blocks. So if I want to there's my ottoman. Let's just insert that ottoman. And let's change the ottoman. So I'm going to right click on this, edit block in place. And I'm just going to change this ottoman into, let's make it circular. And I'll just get rid of all of these lines. And then I'm done editing it. I'll click Save Changes. And you'll notice that that ottoman changed, that ottoman block changed, and also the nested ottoman block that is in this big block here, that changed. So why didn't these ottomans change? Anyone want to venture a guess?
It's its own block.
Yeah, well, these ottomans were these ottomans are just line work. They're not blocks. I never when I created this block, these were just pieces of line, right?
Mhm.
So that's why these ottomans are not blocks, or it did not change with that. All right. Hopefully that wasn't overwhelming. Blocks are something that you'll use a real lot. I mean, already, right? We put in toilets, right? We put in a sink, we put in doors. We've already been using them, but today's lesson here, I guess, is just how to create them and how to edit them. Questions? Questions about anything?
Is there a site? So my Mac doesn't give the same blocks that you have. Because I saw you pull up a few of them earlier and a while ago in a last class. And I'm just wondering if there's a site that you recommend for blocks.
You mean other than the site that that Google Drive site?
Yes, yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, the short answer to the question is that off the top of my head, no, I don't have a specific site I could say go to this site and download blocks. But I will tell you that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them that are available to you if you Google them. I'll also tell you that I am not a real big fan of some of these blocks. And next week, we're going to be talking about an office layout, and we're going to be drawing some ADA toilets. And I am not, let me just go. I'm not a huge fan of that toilet block that AutoCAD brings in for us. Let me just go up and let's see if I can find it.
Do manufacturers make blocks for the furniture that they sell?
Some of them do, yeah. Yes, they do. So that's very convenient. You know, you can just download the block from the manufacturer. Yes. So let's see. go to,
For instance, the toilet, you know, Kohler, you could go out to Kohler.com.
Yeah.
Like, how would you find blocks from Kohler?
yeah, you could. Now, I really am not a fan of this block. I just think it's odd. And maybe it's just odd to me because I'm just not used to seeing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together some blocks, particularly bathroom blocks that are a little simpler and more generic and more sort of industry standard than you know, like what are these lines? I just don't. I guess I just don't get it. So I will give you those. I'll probably put them together this weekend and get a bunch of them together and give them to you all next week, because I just think we can do better, you know. And then it looks to me also here that if I click on one of these, so let's just see what happens when I click on this thing and bring this in. So this is bringing in a whole pile of blocks here. And I guess that's cool because what I can do is I can go over to insert and then can I find, yeah, then I can find all of the blocks that were included, you know, like, you know, let's just say I want to do, you know, the side view of a urinal for some reason, or here a toilet paper holder. So I can pull that into my document. Yeah. The only bad thing is that, so, you know, I dragged this into my document, and then I was able to pick, because the toilet paper holder was one of the blocks that came in here with this. And but now I don't want the rest of this, so I can erase this. So I just have the one block that I want, but when I go back to insert, they're still all there. So let me just see what purge does. Purge is something that we haven't talked about at all. Let me just. Now when I go back to insert, yeah, I have a much reduced set of blocks. So, all right, I guess I brought it up inadvertently, but I may as well talk about it, and that is purge. Purge is a way, you can see, you know, I just almost instantly brought in 20 blocks into my document. And as you know, as you're working on your document, you'll find that you are bringing in more and more blocks, or you may have additional layers or all kinds of things that are in your document. And what happens is, after time, your document starts to get really big. The file size gets really big. So you can use the purge command to purge all of those things that are no longer in your document, and it will get rid of them for you. It's not something that I use very often, and you probably won't need to use it often either, but just so that you know it's in the back of your mind there, you can use the purge document or purge command to purge, you know, stuff that you no longer want to see in your document. Okay, anything else? All right, so why don't I talked about the homework briefly last week, but I'm going to reiterate it for right now. Your job for next Thursday, is that correct? We don't have class on Monday, right? Because that's the 5th. So next Thursday, what I want you to do is to create a floor plan of a room in your home, whether it's your living room or dining room or, some room in your house. And I would like the room to have at least one door and at least one window. It could have more, but at least that. I would like to see you put some dimensions on that room. That gives me the overall size of the room, both the width and the length of the room. And if you've got a window in there, dimension the window. Or if you have, a bump, or if it's an L-shaped room, give me appropriate dimensioning. And then I'd like you to plop in some furniture. It doesn't need to be, when you pull in this furniture here from that Google Drive, the odds are you're not going to find the exact furniture for that room. But why don't you just either do the best you can with the furniture there, or furnish it in some way that you might like to see the room furnished with the furniture that's provided. Or if you want to create your own block of furniture, you can. And then I'd like you to also create this specific block, this chair and ottoman, and put that someplace either in your room or someplace off to the side outside of your room. For things like a table, or let's say I want to put a table here, all I really need to do is draw a rectangle right here.
Paul,
And
can you
yes, go ahead.
can you demonstrate an oval?
An oval is an ellipse. So I'm typing the word ellipse. And there are a number of ways you can do it. So what it's asking for what it'll ask for are the two endpoints of the ellipse. So I'll pick one axis endpoint here, and then I'll pick another axis endpoint here. So, whatever it is here. And then it'll ask for the width of the ellipse. So that's fairly random, but what if it was, what if I wanted that ellipse to be, I don't know, 2 feet wide by 4 feet long at some large coffee table, something. Well, I could start by drawing a rectangle. I'll just do the rectangle tool here. That's 24,48. So now I have a rectangle, and then I can go into the ellipse tool, and I think, there's the ellipse tool right here. And this is asking for the center of the ellipse. So what I'm going to do is there's a couple different ellipses here, but I like using the axis ellipse. So I'll click on that. And then, so it's asking me for an axis endpoint, which I'll just choose the midpoint. And then that midpoint, and then I'll come across, and I'll click there. So this ellipse is, I'll get rid of this rectangle here. So this ellipse is exactly 24 wide by 48 high, because that's how big I made that rectangle. So it's relatively easy to make an ellipse. And if you don't like it, you can grab the grips and you can play with it. So for these pieces of furniture, whether it's an ellipse or an end table or an area rug, you don't necessarily have to make every single thing a block, but you do want to make sure it's on the furniture 2 layer. And I could do, just draw an area rug here. And I'll just trim out. So if I trim the 2 ends here, and I have this line segment, I guess I can trim that. So furnish your room, draw the chair and ottoman, put it in either a size landscape or a size portrait, either one. If your room is kind of long and vertical, maybe this is the right paper space to use, or if it's more horizontal, this might be the right one to use. So,
Paul, are there blocks for flooring?
blocks for what?
Flooring?
No, flooring, we would use hatching, and we'll talk about hatching later on.
Okay,
Good question though, but no.
okay.
Should we put
I mean,
measurements?
I guess if you wanted to do a tile floor, you could draw a tile and turn it into a block and then array it. I mean, if you really wanted to, but I'm not really asking you to do flooring for this. Again, this is an exercise, again, to repeat, to start drawing, to continue drawing walls and doors and windows, to give you more practice in doing that, and to start inserting blocks. I'm sorry, someone else had a question. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. If there's stairs, should we include, is there something for stairs? And do we need to put measurements on everything?
I'll answer the last question first. The only measurements that I'm asking for are the overall dimensions of the room and dimensioning a window. So if I've got this room, I need to dimension, I want some overall dimensions for the room, the depth and the width of the room. And then I want to add, a dimension from, the corner of the room to the jamb of the window, and then to the other jamb of the window down here. Those are the only dimensions I'm going to ask of you. I'm not going to ask you to dimension any furniture or anything like that. So once you have the shell of your room in place, then I'd like you to plop in some furniture. Okay.
Okay. And then for
so the
stairs,
stairs. Yeah, I think if you're gonna, so if you got you're saying you got this big old staircase running on the side of the room, right? Yeah, I would probably show that. So if I were to, if the staircase was 3 feet wide, I would offset 3 feet. Oops, let's just do these commands correctly. And I don't know where that stair starts, but I'm just gonna sort of pick up. And I'll fillet this. Oops, my fillet is doing a radius here. So let me undo that. Fillet radius 0. And then if the depth of each one of your steps is 10 inches, or maybe it's 11 inches, I'll offset, I'll just say 10, for how many steps you've got. So that would be your stair.
okay, and that would go under the walls layer.
Yes, for now, yes. Put it on the walls layer. Yes. The truth is that, and I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do in this class later on, but the truth is, if you were working in an office, the stairs would go on a stairs layer, the doors would go on a doors layer, the windows would go on a windows layer. And we'll probably get into that a little later. I just don't want to overwhelm everyone with layers, and I'm trying to, at least for now, follow the path, the course outline, the way it was sort of written. And again, as we're moving forward, I'm already starting to customize this class a little bit, because going in some things that I like blocks, etc., that I want to give you all. I may say, all right, let's create some additional layers and put stairs on a stairs layer. But for now, let's just assume that that walls layer absorbs all of our architecture throughout the project. Again, sorry for that really long-winded answer.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Can I
Well,
stop
I have a
sharing?
question. Sorry,
Yeah.
I have a question about getting our blocks into our drawing. As far as making sure that the scale is right, are they automatically going to go to like the 1/8 scale, or do we need to scale those before we drag them into our drawing?
Well, no, they should go to the correct scale. First, you want to make sure that you're inserting blocks in model space, in black model space here. And when we are drawing in model space, we're drawing actually full scale. We're the only time that we're applying a scale is in paper space here. But when we're drawing in model space, we're drawing full scale. So this sofa is actually, 7'5" long. So when you drag these blocks in, when you pull these blocks in, you don't have to play with the scale at all. They will come in correctly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. That's not to say, though, that's not to say that you can't customize these blocks and change the scale of them, but I don't want to get into that today. All right. I don't want to overwhelm everybody with too much and stretching and changing these scales. We will definitely talk about that later on. But for now, let's just assume that these blocks are coming in correctly. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for now. So that's your assignment for tomorrow or next week. Do the floor plan, plop some furniture in, and draw that chair and ottoman block, and then put it on paper space. Put a title on it. Just like you've been doing for all of your other projects, and then upload it to Blackboard. It's due a week from today. Okay. So if no one has any more questions, that's all I really have for today. I hope you all have a wonderful Independence Day and shoot your fireworks off safely. When I was a kid, our neighbor was shooting off bottle rockets, and it landed on the wood front porch of the neighbor's house, and it started a small fire. And it was like total panic. We sure learned the lesson, but so don't do that, I guess. So that's all I have for everyone for today.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you all.
Can I ask you
If you want to hang back, hang back and ask questions, please do. Feel free.
Yes, I have a quick question for you.
All right.
I'm just not very computer savvy. Your lessons are awesome, and I want to keep them like forever. So is it possible to upload the videos to a flash drive?
I believe that. Well, as you know, they're all on YouTube right now.
Oh, okay. They are on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah. So you can view them in. I assume that you're viewing them in Blackboard, right?
Right.
But I think that you can click on them and actually view them in YouTube on YouTube.
Okay.
I just stay on YouTube then?
So once they're on YouTube, I think that you can download YouTube videos. I mean, I didn't put any kind of restriction on that. So.
Okay. And then just save it from there. Okay.
Thank you for the compliment.
Oh, no, it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Kate. It's been great.
Really? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just so nice to just listen to you during class and then go back, watch the video and take really good notes.
Yeah.
And then do it on my own.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree.
I think that really is the best way to do it, because if you're doing while I'm,
Right.
blurbering on, you're missing what I'm talking about, because you're thinking about what I'm, you're kind of like one or two steps behind. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, the videos are great.
And when
Good.
you're, when, Paul, when you're capturing, like say you want to erase something or you want to, you want to click all parts of something, are you like holding down your left key and then drawing across? Because it draws like a square on yours and mine doesn't draw a square. It's like a wiggly line or
I have the
something.
same problem.
Yeah, that is because you are holding down the left mouse button. When you hold down the left mouse button, it creates that weird polygon, but when you're
Yeah.
selecting it. So just click and release and then draw the other side of the square and then click and release. Do it that way. And then you'll get nice square. You're talking about the blue and the green squares, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So click and release and then move your mouse.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it knows just by clicking and releasing, it knows that you want to draw like a green square or a blue square?
Yeah, it will know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on the direction that you pull your mouse, it will change from blue to green.
That is correct,
Okay.
Jacqueline. So if you click on the left side and move your mouse right, it'll create a blue window. And if you click on the right side and move your mouse left, it will create a crossing. So anything that crosses through that green rectangle will be included in your selection set. Yes.
Okay.
Paul, I had a
But,
question.
but
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
but just click and release. That's the, either way, click and release.
And then click again when you want it done.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
click the end point too. Yeah, the end of the opposite corner of the square.
Okay.
Yes, Jackie, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So when drawing the blocks and you put certain things in the furniture layer, like you know, we did the guidelines and then we put the actual drawing in the furniture layer. When you delete all the guidelines, do you keep the block in the furniture layer before you create the block, or do you put it back into the O layer?
Yes, you must put it back into the 0 layer. The only reason I put the line work of that chair in the furniture layer was that so it could be a different color and we could distinguish between the guidelines and the actual chair. You know, just to make it easier to distinguish. But no, all that line work of the chair should be on the must be on the 0 layer.
Okay. And then, you know, I'm having a really hard time with the draw in the what's it called, the spline or the spline fit. Every time I click, you were able to kind of click points and then release. The second I release or hit enter, it changes, like makes a whole different squiggle line in the opposite direction of where I'm guiding it.
Okay, so after you click, first of all, I've been doing it longer than you have, so I have the knack of it a little bit. But when you get that last point, then what you need to do, and this is just really odd for this command, is you have to pull your mouse. You have to move your mouse as if you were going to click again, but don't click, just move the mouse and then with your finger hit your enter key. And that will end the command. Yeah, because if otherwise you click once more and I know exactly what you're talking about, and it creates it's a little bit wacky. It's a little bit different than other commands, and it takes, yeah, you know, sometimes
Trial and error.
I had to redo the spline a couple times in front of you all. So I mean, I've done that spline command, you know, sometimes 10 times until I got it the way that I wanted it. So don't feel bad that you have to keep redoing it because.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was something obvious I was missing, but that's helpful. I will try that. Thank you.
Yeah. Who else?
I have a quick question about like revising and turning things back in.
Sure.
So if we do that, do we have to send you an email that we revised it, or will you just get like a notification on Blackboard that
Well, are you revising it after I grade it?
Yeah.
Oh. So you're asking me to adjust your grade?
Oh, I thought that there was a section. Sorry, I didn't realize that it wasn't like that. That's my fault. I thought that's just how it was because the revisions thing on the bottom.
On the bottom, what? On Blackboard, it says revisions?
No, like on the paper space, it says like revisions.
And we haven't even really talked about that. No, no, that's not a revision that you would make. That would be like if you were submitting something to a contractor or whatever, and we'll talk about that. But
Okay, sorry
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, yeah. If you really, if you want to dispute a grade with me or something, yes, reach out by email to me. That's the best way to do it.
Okay, no, sorry about that. I would just got myself confused.
Okay. But if you are uploading, and you go, oh, and if I haven't graded it yet, and you realize you forgot something and you want to upload it again, I will always look at the last thing that you uploaded. Okay.
Okay, got it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Paul, I have a question about how to lock my viewport, because I thought I did it in my project, and that's one of the things that you noted. So I'm wondering if I could share my screen and you can kind of review it with me if no one else has any questions.
Yes. Hold on just one second, Jacqueline. Let me make you a co-host here. Okay. You should, if you share your screen, that's fine.
Okay, so this is my project. I think my measurements were wrong, but that's a side note.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking over, it has that little lock button, and I assumed that meant it was locked. Is there something else though that
no, it's not.
Okay.
Can you open up your layer palette for a moment?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right. Wow. See the little lock next to viewport there on your layer palette?
Yeah, right here.
What you have done is locked the layer, but you have not locked the viewport. So that means I can't move that viewport around. And that's not what we want to do. We want to lock the scale of the viewport. So unlock that.
Oh, unlock it.
Okay. Yeah. Now go back to Paperspace. Now click on your viewport. So now at the bottom, I'm looking for it. Where's the lock button?
This guy, lock/unlock viewport.
Where are you pointing? Move your mouse around so I can see where.
I'm sorry, my mouse is right here. I'll move it slowly.
Oh.
I know it's different for a Mac.
What does that say? What's the tooltip say?
Lock/unlock viewport.
That's what it looks like?
Well, now you know what I'm struggling. It's completely different on a Mac than it is.
What are they thinking? Oh my gosh, I feel terrible for you guys. It's like you're almost using a different piece of software. Yes. Okay. So now go into that viewport and see if you can't change move. Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's not like.
Okay. So now your viewport is locked. That's the correct way to do it, Jacqueline.
Got it. Okay.
Jacqueline,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've looked into getting a PC from the library, but it's really easy. It's not need-based or anything. I just let them know I needed one, went over, picked it up, and because I've only used Macs for like 20 years, and it's just a really good experience for me using the PC.
Yeah. My company uses Macs, and I'm also in California, so I cannot do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No.
You know what, Jacqueline? I give you credit for getting. I mean, you're doing it. Obviously, you're doing it. So that's great. But you clearly are going through hoops that the rest of the class doesn't have to go through. One student, by the way, suggested, and I don't see her here right now, but she suggested a forum, a group board to put in, Mac tips and tricks and stuff like that. So I thought it was a good idea. I don't know if anyone's going to use it or not, but it's there in case you want to share or ask questions of other Mac users, you know, if you have any.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. I will definitely make notes. Do you
Yeah.
know, I don't know if you're able to tell me, but which student also has a Mac?
Hannah does, but I don't know who else.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Another question for you. So are you doing another AutoCAD course next semester?
I am. Yes.
Okay, I'm assuming that one will be in person.
No.
Woo! Okay, cool.
Next,
Thank you.
it's so weird. You're talking about fall semester?
I am, yeah.
Fall semester, except for a few classes, is still going to be online. I'm like flabbergasted, but yeah, it is. But spring semester will be, spring of 2022 will be in person. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You know what?
know
I actually
courses
like,
for that?
I don't know about you all, I actually like the online version because I am recording and I'm not sure I'll be able to record the classes when we're in person, you know?
Exactly. I was going to ask if the in-person classes are recorded somehow, because this is wonderful doing it this way.
You know, and when we all started to do this, right, we all transitioned to it, we all complained and stomped our feet and everything. And there are some real, I mean, real significant advantages to doing it this way. There really are, you know, so yeah, it'll be the advantage of doing it in person is I can go slower. And so everyone has the computer in front of them, and then I'll do it, and then you'll do a little piece of it, and then I'll do the next, and you'll do a little piece of it. But what we do in, you know, an hour and a half or 2 hours takes 4 hours in class. So, you know, it makes for a longer session.
Yeah.
And then if you're not paying attention, or if you haven't been taking notes and the class ends, you're scratching your head. You're like, now what the heck did he say? You know? So, I mean, it happened. I mean, everyone gets through it and they've done it, but this just seems so much nicer, particularly when you're learning software. You know, in my Viz Tech class, when I'm teaching sketching, that's another story. That is definitely much nicer to do when you're doing it in person, you know, versus online.
It would be nice if they would put some more thought into maybe deciding which classes are better online and which classes are better in person.
Yeah, I think that they are, and I think that they're considering offering online classes, particularly the night classes, because some, you know, people don't always want to stay till 10 o'clock at night, you know, and then you got to drive home. So I think that they are seeing there are some advantages to these classes being online. And I think I can't promise, but I think that's going to be an offering in the future. What else? Anything? Are there fireworks this year? We didn't see fireworks last year. I don't know if you all are going to see any, but. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then I will say have a nice rest of your week and weekend and holiday, and I'll see you next week. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you all. Anything you're from you guys, or should I close the session? All right, I'm going to close.